Hello to my second and third grade artists. It's me, your art teacher, Mrs. P, Mrs. Pendleton, coming back to say hello, to let you know I still love you and I miss you, and I hope that you all are doing well and you're staying as healthy as possible and helping take care of the folks around you. Thanks again for coming back today. Thank you for all of your likes and subscribes and shares, and thank you so much for continuing to share your work with me. I really appreciate it. So, and to all of my other artists that aren't my students, I'm so glad you're here today because we're going to finish the lesson that we started 2 weeks ago. I know for some of us, including myself, last week was spring break, so we had a break from our videos, but we're about to pick back up right where we left off because we were working on our landscapes. We were talking about foreground, middle ground, and background, and specifically talking about weather conditions and thinking about different ways that artists can represent weather in our artwork. So if you're ready to get started, let's do it. All right, my second and third grade artists, let's pick up where we left off, starting with our vocabulary. We talked about landscapes. Landscape art is any art that is outside. If you have something that's inside, and it's called an interior, okay? But for this project, we are thinking about areas of space that are outside of our home. What we look out, maybe when we look outside the window. We talked about foreground, middle ground, and background. Those are things that artists use to show space. The things that are in the foreground are closest to you, and we tend to draw them larger. The middle ground, they're a little bit smaller. It's in the middle of your paper. And things that are in the background tend to be close to the top of the page, and we draw them a little smaller because they look far away. We talked about the seasons, thinking about what season it is or what your favorite season is, and thinking about what the weather looks like. Is it sunny? Is it snowy? Is it windy? Is it rainy? What do the trees look like during your favorite season? There are a lot of things that happen in our environments, our outdoor environments, that let us know what season it is. And I want you to think about how to show that in your landscapes. We talked about details related to drawing those elements of the season. Also, we're talking about weather, different ways to represent weather in our artwork. Again, thinking about how we want to draw rain if we decide to do a rainy season, maybe springtime. Thinking about how we want to represent snow or draw snow if we're thinking about wintry times, okay? And for my third graders, we're also going to talk about motion lines. Those are lines that let us know that things are moving. So if you have wind blowing, maybe you can use diagonal lines or horizontal lines to show that wind is moving in that direction. And I'll show you how to do that as well. We're going to go back to our standard, which is VA2/3 for second and third grade, CR1, creating one. Engage in the creative process to generate and visualize ideas by using subject matter and symbols to communicate meaning. So we're going to be doing a lot of communicating in our decisions on how we're going to draw our weather and what we're going to use to represent those elements, okay? So the last time we were together, we started working on this landscape. As you can see, I have some puddles in the foreground. I told you that I was drawing what I saw when I looked outside my window. So I have these houses here in the middle ground, and I have some things overlapping. I have this house overlapping these trees, and I showed you how to do that as well. And we have these other houses in the background. As you can see, this house is smaller than this house because it is supposed to look farther away. So artists, make sure when you're drawing things in the background, make sure you're drawing them smaller than the things that are in the middle ground and the foreground, especially if it's the same object. One of my favorite seasons is springtime, and it was raining at the time that I started drawing this, and so I started using lines to represent my rain, and I drew some raindrops. Some larger ones, some smaller ones, and I added some small details like the rain hitting the puddles, and I think I'm going to draw some motion lines behind my raindrops because the rain is falling pretty quickly. Let me draw some more here. I'm also going to add a few more details. Maybe a small chimney here, even smaller one there. Small here. Okay, so I think I'm ready to start adding some color. So I want you to finish working on your drawing. And if you have crayons or colored pencils, feel free to add color to your landscape. If you don't have those things, it's quite all right. Remember, when we have to, we use pencils to shade in certain areas, to add value to them. Being that we're working on white paper, I can easily change the value. That means how light or how dark the color of my pencil shows up by how hard I press. If I don't press too hard, I get kind of this medium value of gray. If I press a little harder, it comes out a little darker. Now, I'm not asking for color for this project. This grade is really about you showing me your understanding of foreground, middle ground, and background, and how you choose to represent elements of weather in your landscape. I also want to check for understanding that you know what a landscape is. And then whatever you decided to draw, it was something that you see outside, an outdoor space. It could be anything that you see outside of your window, or it could have been something from your imagination. I'm just going to add a few more little values here with my pencil, and maybe a darker value for these doorknobs. Maybe a really light value inside of the windows. But since I have some crayons with me, I think I'm going to add a little bit of color. And don't forget to blend colors too. There's so many different types of green, different types of yellow, different types of blue that you can blend together. You can even blend different colors together. I can even blend a little bit of blue in with my tree if I want to. Fill in some of those white spaces. I can use a different green for the grass up here. And just a little hint, when you color with crayon or colored pencil, if you want to look extra neat, just color a little space at a time. When you color really fast and really large, it sometimes tends to look like what we call scribble scrabble. But if you stick to a little space at a time and make sure that space is fully colored, it usually makes it look really even and the color looks really thick, really bright or vibrant. So, what do you think about that? Here is my finished landscape. I have completed it by adding some color. If you have color, feel free to use it. You don't have to. Remember, I'm not grading you on your coloring, but what I am grading you on is your understanding of foreground, middle ground, and background. I want you to be able to show me space in your drawing. That means you understand how to put things in a foreground and draw them larger. Things are also maybe a little larger in the middle ground, and they definitely should be larger than the items that are in the background, which you're going to be drawing smaller. I'm also looking for your ability to try to overlap. You're drawing certain things in front of other things. Like I have these houses overlapping the trees. I have this tree overlapping this house. So those are the things I'm looking for. I'm also checking to see how you decide to represent weather in your landscape. Whatever season you decided to represent in your landscape is up to you. But if your favorite season is winter, think about how you're going to represent snow. Think about how you would represent rain or sunny days. If your favorite season is spring, it's completely up to you. And if you want to add something that may be a little surprising to your landscape that might not be there for that particular weather scene, feel free to do that. Okay, so artists, I'm looking forward to getting your work. I cannot wait to see your finished pieces. My second and third grade artists, please keep sending me your work through Teams, through email. Thank you for your likes, your subscribes, and all of your comments on this page. And all of my artists, thank you for sharing your work with me. I cannot wait to do a shout out video featuring all the art that I've gotten from you all thus far. So keep up the good work. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. This is Mrs. P. Don't forget, I love you and I miss you, and I cannot wait to see you. Same rules in the art room, guys. Please be nice to each other. Practice self-control, mind, mouth, and body, and do your best to take care of each other. Until next time, I love you. I miss you. Stay creative.